Hello guys, and welcome back to my video series on programming with modern FORTRAN. Now in today's video, the first video actually for today, or rather in this video okay, in this video we are going to be looking at how we can compute the simple interest and amount. So basically for this video and the next one to come, we are just going to solve problems, and thereafter we'll look at a new concept. Okay, but the reason I'm solving this question is for you to be able to understand and better implement whatever concept you've been learning so far. Okay, to use them to solve a couple of questions so that they'll sink in more before we move down to what we have next. So in this video we are going to be looking at a program to compute simple interest and amounts. It's a very common question, we use that a lot in programming. So to compute simple interest and amounts, for you to compute the simple interest and amounts, you must be given three basic things. You must be given the principal, that means the amount you invest. Okay, it could be an investment. You must be given the rates. At what rates are they giving you? It's annual base. So is it that after every year they'll give you 10% of whatever you invest, or they'll give you 5% of whatever you invest? That's the rate. And finally, you have to look out, you also need the time. So this investment you made, for how long did it last? Was it for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? These are three basic things you need for you to compute the interest. Okay, now once you've computed the interest, you now need to compute the amount. Now the amount is, okay, by the end of these 3 years or 4 years, how much do you have? How much are you going to receive? Now, not just the interest with what you invested. What is this accumulative amount you're going to get? So we have this formula we generally use. For the simple interest, we use this formula, and P here represent the principal, R here represent the rate, T here represent the time, which is in years, and then we have all over 100. 100 is the constant. 100 is as a result of the rates. The rate is so you don't need to convert the rate to percentage because you're already dividing by 100. So if they give you 2%, you just use 2 since 100 is already here. So once you've completed a simple interest, you now have to get the amount, and we are saying the amount is the simple interest plus the principal that was given. Okay, so this is the program we want to write, and we are going to assume that we don't know this value. We want the user to actually input these values. So there is going to be a prompt, and we are going to use our read statement to get values from the user. So let's move down to our IDE. Still, we are going to work with Plateau IDE. So I'll create a new file here, and I'll call it interest.f95. so I can just call it interest. So let's give the program a name. As usual, we start with the keyword program. We give the program a name. So let's call it interest and amounts. Now you can see while I have the underscore there, remember we said whenever you're naming an identifier that a special character is not allowed. And when you have a space there, spaces are generally special characters, so you don't really need spaces there. That's the reason I don't have those spaces there. And we said you also need to end the program by saying end program, then the name of the program. Then every other thing has to come between these two. Now, since we've already discussed the concept of implicit none, I'm going to use it in this program. Okay, we said whenever we use implicit none, it means any variable you want to use, you have to declare the variable. Without you declaring the variable, it's not going to be possible. Okay, now in this program we have different variables we want to declare, so all of them are going to be real. Remember, we have real column since we want them to, they are likely to have decimal part, that's why they are real. So one of them we have is the principal, which we are going to say is P. We have the rate, which is R. We have the time, which is T. We have the amounts. I can just say A, or I can spell amount in full. And then we have the simple interest, which I can say it is I. So now I'm declaring all of these as real values. So the program will be expecting me to give real values. Now after I must have done this, one other thing I want to do is to get values from the user, but I want a prompt to be there telling the user that, okay, enter the simple interest, enter the amount, enter the rate, and the rest of that. So for me to have that prompt, I can use my print statement, and then I'll say, okay, let's say the first one is enter the principal. What? Let's start with that. Enter the principal. So then I'll use the read to ask the user for the principal. So I can use reads asterisk. I can also use read with a single asterisk. You're going to see that I'll use both cases here. You see that both will work. So I'll say I'm entering the principal, which is P. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it below, and then change this to enter the rates. Then this time around, for the sake of you understanding the fact that it's not only read with double asterisk we can use, I'm going to use read with a single asterisk here. So I'll make it read with a single asterisk, but for that reason there is going to be a comma. So I'll copy this, paste it, and then enter the time. So this is what we have, the time. So I can just say this is T. So after I must have read in all of this, I need to compute the interest, which is I. And we said I is equal to the principal times the rate times the time. Then we are dividing everything by 100, right? And then we have the amount, which we spelled in full. So I'll say amount is equal to principal plus interest. So now I can go ahead and print. Okay, I can print that the interest is, so I have interest, which is I, and I can also print the amounts. So I can say the amounts from the investments, let's assume it's an investment, is, so the amount we have there is amount. So in each of these cases, notice what I'm doing. In the first line, or this line here, I'm printing out two things. I'm printing out this, which is a string. We'll talk about string or characters in full later. And also printing out this, which is the value of I. For the fact that I'm to print out two things, you can say I'm separating them with comma. Don't confuse this comma with this one here. This comma we have here is as a result of you using a print. Remember, if you don't want to use print, you can remove this print and then use writes with double asterisk, right? Asterisk, comma, asterisk. Later on, you're going to see how we are going to do without the asterisk and put some format specification there. So if you're using the write, you use asterisk, comma, asterisk, and you don't need any comma thereafter. But for print, you need one comma, then whatever you want to print. So I think this is all for this program. Let's just try it out and make sure it works out fine, and then we'll see the next question. So I have to save this, but let me try to build, and then you see they'll ask me to save. So I'm going to save this as interest dot f95 by default. So I've saved that, and there's no error, so we can go ahead and start one. So let's zoom in to see what we have there as a result. So it asks me to enter the principal. Let's say I invested a very large amount. No large amount. I'm not too sure in the business, so I invested just 200,000. At what rates? They said the rate is 40%, which is kind of too good to be true. So that's why I invested that little amount of money. Then for the time, they said it's going to be for just 2 years. I'm trying out. So we said they got the interest. They said the interest is 160,000 after 2 years, and the amount from the investment is now 360,000. So you can see I invested 200,000. I got an interest of 160,000. So I ended up getting 360,000 as my return. Okay, so you can see it is working all fine. But that's all about this program, and that's it, guys. That's it for this program. So in the next video, we are going to be looking at a program to compute the discriminant. That's another common case you guys always encounter, to compute the discriminants of a quadratic equation. Okay, and then when we move down to control structures, we are going to extend on that and see how we can make it to be interesting. So that's guys for this video. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.